What is up, you guys, and welcome back to my channel. For anybody who's new around here, my channel right now is really focusing on my pregnancy journey. It'll also be focusing a little bit on health and wellness in the future, but for now it's all pregnancy things because that is currently where I am in my life. So this is going to be my second trimester recap. It is again very delayed because time's just got away with me. I don't know what else to say. As of today, as I'm recording this, I'm already in my 33rd week of pregnancy. So definitely fully into my third trimester, but I'm going to do my best to recap everything from last trimester because I did write notes during my whole pregnancy so far on my phone and in a notebook. So I might be glancing over to actually look at my notes so I can read you off like week by week the real raw emotions and what was going on and little updates from baby. So if that interests you to see my second trimester recap, keep watching. Okay, so diving right on in, I'm going to start with week 13. There's a lot of debate if it's week 13, week 14, but just for sake of simplicity, we'll start with week 13. So baby was the size of a lemon. This week there wasn't crazy things to report. The one thing I did note is that I was getting some ligament pain, mostly when I'd stand up, like getting up from bed or something like that. I was starting to get some ligament pain kind of down the front side of my abdomen into kind of the groin. Other than that, it wasn't a hugely eventful week. I wrote down that meat is still gross. So that's been an aversion the whole time. Also, just a side note, shortness of breath has been a thing since second trimester, or like even first trimester, honestly. It was, even in my first trimester, it's been a solid thing, but definitely picked up in my second trimester and now even more in my third. So you'll hear me gasping for air probably a lot throughout this video. So it's normal though. Okay, week 14, baby is the size of a peach and they are weighing 1.5 ounces, which I still can't believe, like that is so small, so tiny. This week I wrote in regards to me that I had to order some bigger clothes and I went for my genetic testing that I did. I did it actually through the States. It was a company, I'll remember what it is and I'll put the name of what it is here. But it's a genetic company. I sent off some of my blood and they did like a pre-screen for some of the genetic disorders. So that test that I had done came back normal that week. I also discovered that my blood type, and it was a negative. And so therefore, because of that, they were just advising me when I went to my doctor's appointment that they would have to test my husband's blood to see if his was negative or positive, because that could potentially impact my treatment moving forward. And then with that testing that I did when I sent it to the States, you had the option for the gender. And so I obviously wanted to know the gender, so I clicked that box off. We got the gender back that week. I didn't look at the envelope, anything like that. I gave it to my friend who was gonna do a gender reveal for me, but if we wanted to know, we could have known in week 14. On to week 15, baby is the size of an orange and weighing 2.5 ounces. Baby can now start to hear our voices. And I thought that was really like a special week because I could start to talk to the baby and know that they were gonna start associating our voice with me with my voice. That's what I'm trying to say. Me and my husband's voices, they would start to recognize. This week, I wrote for myself that I was starting to get some congestion, especially late at night or early in the morning. Week 16, baby is the size of an avocado and they weigh 3.5 ounces. They are starting to grow their taste buds. And for this week, I wrote a little bit of vivid dreams. I wouldn't say like I'm a huge dreamer, at least obviously like I don't remember a lot of my dreams, but this week in particular, I remember all my dreams and they were just really vivid. They weren't scary, but they were vivid. I also wrote that I was having some back pain this week, so getting a little more uncomfortable. Week 17, baby's the size of a pomegranate and was 5.9 ounces. This week, not super eventful. I just wrote that My bump was starting a little bit more, but really that probably means it was only visible to me. But it was a B bump, not a D bump. And what I meant by that is like, if you think of the shape of a B versus a D. And so I felt like the bottom part of the B was starting to get harder and forming a little bit, but it wasn't like that nice D rounded pregnancy belly by any means. I had a B for a long, long time. I don't know, baby was always just really low. So I wrote that for week 16. Sorry, for week 17, pregnancy brain. I have to read my notes. Week 17. In week 18, baby is the size of a sweet potato, weighing at 6.7 ounces. Now again, like these are all like averages. This is just from a pregnancy app. So I'm sure there's give and take with that, but I thought it was cute to kind of keep track of their weight. This week was a really big week for us. We found out that we are having a baby girl. And so it was very exciting. Like I said, one of my best friends, she threw us the gender reveal. It was so beautiful. Yeah, it was very exciting. Like I was so anxious to know. I did all the testing. I really wasn't sure. Like, honestly, I kind of thought it was going to be a boy just from me having kind of such a smooth pregnancy thus far, like into it. But no, we're having a little girl, and I know my husband was over the moon because that is what he wanted very, very strongly. So he got his way. So this week I also noted that my gums were bleeding and ligament pain was continuing. The bleeding gums, yeah, it was crazy. It's continued up until now. Obviously there was, in my 3rd trimester, which I'm currently in, it's calmed down a little bit. It'll be like more sporadic. But from week 18 till, I don't know, 30 weeks or something, it was every night, all the time when I'm brushing my teeth, or even would like touch my gum, it would bleed. So moving on to week 19, baby is the size of a mango. And now I can say she is weighing 8.5 ounces. This week we did our anatomy scan. So go in and do that long, like I think it was honestly almost an hour, where they go through like all the little parts. They show you the heart, the valves, you get to listen to their heartbeat, you see all their bones, their feet. It was so cool. So that was a long appointment, but totally worth it. I actually found that it hurt a little more than I expected. Like they had to push really hard on my abdomen to have the scan. I don't know if that's just because like there's still so little in there or what, but I definitely was like, okay, I've had enough of this after an hour, but worth every minute to see her on the screen. Very cute. This week was a huge week because not only because of the anatomy scan, but I also felt my first baby kick. And I mean, at the time when I wrote this, I said, I think, now obviously feeling it all the time, I know for sure, yes, it was a kick. It felt like literally a piece of popcorn popping in my tummy. Like that's the best way to describe it. Like I was laying down in the bed, and all of a sudden I felt like pop, like a popcorn popped in my stomach, and I was like, oh, like I think that might have been a baby kick. I'm pretty sure, but it was, now that I really know what it's like. But crazy. That week, baby's also developing the coating on their skin. It's called vernix. It's like that white kind of, I don't know if it's sticky, but white kind of material that they come out with in birth. So that was developing on week 19 as well. Week 20, baby is the size of a banana and weighing at 10.1 ounces. They're also learning to gulp down amniotic fluid. I think they were starting that a few weeks ago as well, but now it's like really progressing. Gums still bleeding. I wrote that pretty much every week. Felt more popping in my tummy, definitely feeling like these are baby kicks. This week was a tough one though, because I got really sick. I was in bed for 6 days. I could not get out of bed. It was brutal, actually. I went for 2 COVID tests, both negative. So they think that it was just some sort of flu that was going around, but man, pregnancy, being sick pregnant, whole other level. I couldn't take like any medication, obviously. I finally had to cave and have a little bit of Tylenol because I got a fever. And so obviously that is way worse than taking a few Tylenol. So that's what my provider told me to do. But I really tried to avoid any other medications. It was just like, oh, I can't. It was really bad. So week 20, not so fun. The only other thing I wrote is that I had to size up in my bras. Okay, moving on to week 21. Baby is the size of an endive. Now, I didn't really know what that is. My app showed me little pictures. It kind of looks like a little red lettuce thing. I don't know if I've ever actually had it, but size of an endive. She weighed 12.7 ounces. And I wrote, I feel like I started to pop a little more, still B-shaped, but feeling definitely more pregnant. Now, again, looking back now, I definitely feel like that still I was not showing really compared to like how I feel now. But in the moment, I guess like that's how I was feeling, like it was starting to feel like I was showing a little bit more, especially if I'd wear something fitted, you'd be able to see more of the bump at the bottom. Again, still a B, so having more of the kind of bloated look than anything. Gums still bleeding. Week 22, baby is the size of a coconut and weighing 15.1 ounces. So I wrote I was continuing to feel baby kicks, mostly in the evening when I was laying down. So I did discover that she was more active either after I ate, definitely. So especially evenings when I was starting to wind down. And then when I would lay down flat is when I could feel her the most in the beginning. Because I don't know, I think it's because when you're walking around all day, like they're feeling like the swishing kind of like rocking movement of you moving, and that's soothing to them. And so they're kind of sleeping. And then when you kind of chill, lay down, especially flat, they're like kicking around, you can feel them more. That's at least what I read. So I was feeling her in the evening, especially laying down. I also wrote that I was starting to use a pillow in between my legs at night, just for a little bit of extra support for my abdomen, I guess. Week 23, baby is the size of a grapefruit and 1.1 pounds. So finally over a pound, which still can't still at 23 weeks, just like a pound. Craziness. That's over half of your pregnancy and they're still like teeny tiny, yet the size of a grapefruit. I don't know. It's just, to me, the pound, like the weight was always crazy. I wrote that I can't feel her kick from the outside, but definitely from the inside. So I was feeling kicks way more. I think probably movements as well. So it wasn't just like those popping feeling. It was also like just feeling little movements inside, like swooshing and stuff like that. And I started getting backaches. Yay. That has continued as well from pretty much that week on. Week 24, she is the size of a cantaloupe and weighing 1.3 pounds. I wrote that I went for one of my midwife appointments and my midwife confirmed from my ultrasound that my placenta is anterior. And so because of that, that's probably why I didn't feel like as strong kicks as other people. And it took maybe a little bit longer than normal. I don't know. I think it was still in a normal range, but I was hearing some people were feeling baby at like 15 weeks. It took me a little bit longer. So she said that it was most likely due to that. But when they're getting bigger and bigger and bigger, obviously there's less space for them to move around. So I'll be able to feel it more. So that was interesting. And I also wrote that I was craving lots of sweets, which again is unlike me. So I just thought that was worth noting. I'm not usually like a sweet craving person. I'm more of a salty or like an appy versus dessert person, but definitely starting week 24, all things sweet. Week 25, baby is the size of a cauliflower, weighing 1.46 pounds. Nothing new to report. So nothing crazy happened in week 24, just kind of, week 25. Again, brain, read. Okay, week 25. Yes, nothing new to report week 25. So went on with my week. Week 26 came along, baby's the size of kale and weighing 1.68 pounds. I wrote that I've officially popped. Probably meaning closer that I looked more pregnant at that point, feeling like I looked pregnant at least. I went for my glucose test, which, you know, it wasn't as bad as I thought it could be, only because I feel like people hyped it up, but it still wasn't pleasant. The one tip that I would say is make sure that it is cold. Like there's no way I could have drank it if it was like room temperature. So I did call ahead because I was that crazy to make sure that they refrigerated it, because I heard that at different locations that some do and some don't. So luckily mine did, and it was way better cold. And also this was a very special week because we went out for dinner and we surprised our best friends and we asked them to be officially the godparents of our little girl. So week 26 was very, very special to our hearts. Moving on to week 27, baby's the size of a lettuce. And again, this was a big week, and that's because Jeremy got to feel the baby kick for the first time from the outside. So that was definitely a memory moment. I wrote down that I was also feeling some light cramping, but nothing crazy. I don't think it was Braxton Hicks. It was more, I don't know, just cramping at the very bottom of my abdomen, kind of like period cramps. But it wasn't like Braxton Hicks where I've heard it comes and goes. It was more of a constant cramp for like a few hours. I brought it up to my doctor. They didn't really know what it was and they weren't concerned. So it hasn't really happened since. I think there might have been one other time, like in a few weeks, but other than that, it's not a constant thing. So that was week 27. Again, there's debate on like, is week 28 still in your second trimester or your third? But for the sake of this video, I'm going to save it for third trimester because I feel like it's the start of a new month as well, like in your pregnancy. And so we'll save that one. That's all I have for my second trimester, other than a few tips that I wanted to share. One of them is constant throughout my whole pregnancy, which is I've been having shortness of breath. And so having water with a good water bottle with a straw and having lots of water has been super helpful. Loose clothes, I definitely have got on that train. I bought a couple maternity things, like one pair of maternity jeans and a couple maternity t-shirts that just have like the ruching on the side. And I've just found like those are more comfortable because they kind of tuck down under your belly instead of like hanging. So that I did get maternity wise. Other than that, I've just sized up one in my other clothes, like leggings and looser like sweaters and jackets and things like that. Oh, and pajamas as well, loose pajamas. I also wrote to decide if you're going to want to use the doula in your second trimester, because they do tend to start getting booked up around that time for your due date, and they only will take a certain amount of people like per month, just for obvious reasons, so that they make sure that they're there, because they're like your one-on-one person. They don't work in a group. Typically you want to have the same person. We decided that we are going to have a doula, and so I have hired somebody for that, and I just feel like it'll ease all like some calmness, make me calm for birth, because obviously I'm going to be a first-time mama. There's going to be a lot going on. I feel like they have a lot of knowledge that they can bring to the table, especially with pain relief at home, because I want to stay at home as long as possible. So for me, it was important to be able to have someone just to be able to help guide me in that way, and then coach Jeremy. So personally, that's what I'm doing, but it's a total personal choice. If you're interested, definitely think about it in your second trimester. And then I did write another tip was I started using my stretch oil cream to prevent stretch marks. Because I did find that as you're growing, you start to get a little more itchy as well. So putting some cream on that was really like natural and oils and stuff like that has helped with just being less itchy and hopefully preventing stretch marks. We'll see. I don't know. We'll see if it actually works. But I started that in my second trimester as well. So I'm gonna leave you guys there. If you guys like this content, you wanna continue watching me, make sure to subscribe so you're not gonna miss out on any videos. Or if you're wanting to follow me on a more day-to-day basis, I share a lot more of my daily life on my Instagram, which is just danica.shorb, S-C-H-O-R-B. And you can follow me along there. Otherwise, I'll catch you here next time when I do my next video. Okay, you guys, and I just wanted to end off by showing you my bump update. Now, obviously I'm in my 3rd trimester, but for memory's sake, that is my bump.